Hi, I'm the Naked Fairy, and I'd like to share with you a little bit about what happened with my new therapist this weekend. And I will warn you, today's kind of a noisy day outside. It is a beautiful day. The last week or so it had gotten hotter and hotter and hotter, but the temperature started dropping yesterday, and it is just simply glorious outside, and everybody seems to be out on motorbikes today. So if you hear a lot of background noise, that's probably what it is. A lot of people out and about, going into the park, onto the paths there. But we shall carry on. So as I said, I met my new therapist, and wow, what a difference. I knew I'd come to be uncomfortable with my old therapist, but I hadn't realized how much until I got with someone I was really comfortable with. And not in a complacent sort of way, but more like we kind of speak the same language kind of way. And speaking the same emotional language with a therapist is important. And I realized that my previous therapist really took that. There's an aspect to therapy that mirrors a parent-child relationship, but he really must micromanage his children and tell them a lot what to do. But at 54, if I'm going to have a parent-child relationship, it's going to be an adult parent-child relationship. I don't need to be told to put my coat on. I don't need to be told to brush my teeth. Got that down. So this was good. And he asked me what I wanted to work on. And I told him that I had a lot of little things that over the years I've pushed to the side, that I've sometimes deliberately chosen not to deal with them because they didn't interfere with my functioning. But there's more to life than being functional, and I'd like to start dealing with some of them. And he asked me what I wanted to deal with, and I said, my weight. Now, I've been steadily losing weight for about the last 14 months. I kind of stopped for a bit when we had this major anxiety issue over sharing my life with the whole world. But I didn't gain weight during that period. I stayed steady. I had some bad days where I overindulged in the junk food and sweets. But I had also a lot of days where I ate my fruit and vegetables. So I haven't beaten myself up about that, but I've gotten back on track. And feeling good about that. I've been a lot more active in the last month, and I'm feeling good about that because I like being active. I like doing things. And so I thought, okay, let's tackle the psychological issues that are keeping my weight on. See, it's not about how I look. I have learned in my life, most of my life, I've actually been smaller. And I've learned that, you know, for every size out there, there are people who will find you attractive. That attractiveness isn't about size, or weight, or body shape, or even body type. People have preferences. People have preferences. And for every person who doesn't think I'm attractive because I'm overweight, I guarantee you that there's another person out there who thinks I am just right. And they're there. So it's not about my appearance. It's really, one, I don't like feeling captive to my fears. Okay? I'm not heavy because I've chosen to be heavy. I'm heavy because it makes me feel safe. And that's my fear talking. And I don't like it when my fear talks. Okay, it talks a lot. And sometimes I have to listen. But if I can quit listening, that would be good. But here's the catch. You can't just ignore your fears. Because when you do that, they jump up and they shout and they scream and they throw a tantrum like you wouldn't believe. And if you don't pay attention to your fears will make you pay attention. So I can't just ignore my fear. So I talked with my new therapist about how being heavier helped me feel safe. Being abused by someone who was literally twice my size had left the what I know logically is the wrong idea that being big means being safe. It doesn't, but deep down inside, I can't let go of that idea. And my therapist did something really, really good. Instead of talking about diet or exercise, the mechanics of weight loss, because again, that's not the issue. Instead of being reasonable about it, and talking about all the intelligent, logical reasons that A, keeping weight on was not actually keeping me safe, and it wasn't keeping me healthy, which is part of being safe. Instead, my therapist helped me open up the pathways inside of my emotions to find more ways to feel safe. You see, the safer I feel, well, the farther I can go. Now, that means a few things. It means I have to be willing to let go of some of the adrenaline. It means that I have to accept that calmness that feeling safe brings. But it means being open. And when the creative part of me comes up with even what might seem wacky ideas for how to feel safe, I need to listen. I need to pay attention to the information that I'm providing myself. I've always believed that when you're ready to grow, when you're ready to move in a certain direction, you find the resources you need. You not only find what you need from inside yourself, but from around you. I think that when you're ready to grow, you could pick up Winnie the Pooh and read it and find the wisdom you need there. Or it could be Mary Poppins, or it could be an Archie comic, or a Superman movie, or any other thing. When you're ready, you'll find what you need. And so this weekend I gave myself permission to come up with creative ways to feel safe. And I agreed that my inner grown-up, what my therapist called my administrative self, but really it's my inner grown-up. My inner grown-up would take those ideas and use them. It's not enough to have an idea if you don't do anything with it. It's just an idle thought. So I am letting myself be open to changes to make myself feel safer. I suspect that my ideas about rearranging my bedroom and actually doing some rearranging this weekend that we did has come from that, but we'll see. We've got the furniture moved. Now we're kind of fine-tuning where things go, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks and see where that goes. I don't see my therapist for another 2 weeks, and I'm kind of excited. Of course, change is always scary. Even when the change is positive, it still feels risky, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to let myself feel safe. I'm going to let myself come up with creative ways to feel safer in my life. And I think it's going to be good. And, you know, again, it's not about my appearance. I like being healthier. I can do more. I can work more, and I like to work. I can do more activities with my family and just do more stuff, and I like that. I like my life, and I want to enjoy it more. And I can't do that when I'm not at my best health. And granted, with chronic health conditions, there are some obstacles. But within that framework, I can be healthier and I can feel better. And so I'm looking forward to that. It's a good thing. So, going to be sharing that with you, creative ways. I've also been thinking a lot about boundaries, and I'll be sharing more about that. I recently have reestablished some different boundaries in my marriage. Nothing bad. Nothing bad had happened, but I just realized that, oh, I'd like to try some different things. And I'll be sharing that with you this week. And boundaries are really important when you've been victimized, whether through people or events. It's important to know where you start and stop and know where others start and stop, and to be able to communicate those boundaries. So we're going to be talking about that, but also going to be talking more about being safe and how all of us have that need. Until we feel safe, nothing else really matters. But as always, to be safe, clothing is optional, but consent is not.